Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. This is a screencast-o-matic presentation and recording for the part of the lesson that has us looking at how the media and fake news affect government. Please remember that for this part of the lesson, your task is to fill in the blanks with the content that coincides with the presentation and the missing spaces in your docs. So please go ahead and scroll down and get ready to proceed forth with the notes. And remember that you can replay any part of this presentation for detail, clarity, or repetition later on. How the media and fake news affect government. Public opinion and mass media. Something to keep in mind here about the media is that its roots are in fact very rich in American history and culture. Public opinion is the complex collection of the opinions of many different people, the sum, all their views, if you will. Public opinion has proven to be fundamentally important both to politicians, the media, and of course the masses. Now, additionally, mass media, those means of communication that reach large audiences. Mass media in this way in our democracy serves the purpose of allowing us the chance and the opportunity to hear diversified news from media sources to make informed decisions. Additionally, media is often considered the fourth branch of government. And additionally, I would also say that media's main job is to connotate different types of news stories to our collective mind and culture as unfiltered, but as objective as possible. Now, how does the media function? We talked about some of these general talking points before, but based off of the roles that the media takes, can cause the perfect storm for fake news and misconceptions. When media acts as a gatekeeper, they introduce or keep a topic in the national mindset, like climate change. You are bound to always hear about climate change in the news media and political realm. The media also acts as a watchdog, which checks corruption within the government. And additionally, it can sound the alarm, especially when there's conflict and scandal. And also, the media acts as a scorekeeper, making or breaking politicians depending on the coverage given to them. I would also suggest that the media purposely makes issues pretty black and white into different sides as heroes or villains, winners and losers. Now, when it comes to bias in media news reporting often creates, yet again, the perfect storm for fake news or misconceptions. The media naturally is biased. No one person, source, or entity is unbiased. Everyone has biases, and they can't help interjecting their personal input or biases, even if they're implicit, in anything that they do or say. Now, when it comes to bias here and fake news, bias can lead to fake news because it often brings a preference or inclination, especially when it inhabits impartial judgment. A person's impartial judgment or a person's objective judgment is not always the most pure, thus, of course, opening up the gateways for bias and fake news to occur. How the media reflects or presents that bias is known as spin. And in their attempt to spin the news, this often opens up another door for fake news or misconceptions to exist and persist. Now, as we had mentioned before, there are several things to look for when it comes to establishing fact from fiction. Balance is incredibly important. Asking yourself, are both sides represented equally in an argument or in a picture? Loaded words are also really important to consider, as some words might allow you the chance to come to biased conclusions like finally, failure, savior. Sensationalist news also can lead way to lots of bias, the building up of a story just for the sake of selling it. Additionally, images and headlines, do they match the story themselves, or are they hyperinflated, or are they even not even directly related to the story at hand? Also, context. Are facts, quotes, and other aspects of the story put into context for the reader, for them to understand in the best way possible? So one of the best things you guys can do for yourselves to understand fake news in our world is looking at several of these features put together at once. Sometimes you might be able to tell fake news and fake story headlines very apparently. Sometimes not so much. Let's look at this example right here from Breitbart News. In September of 2017, conservative news outlet Breitbart included this photo with an article on DACA, or Dreamers, or undocumented people brought to America when they were young children. What is your impression based on the tweet, image, and headline? Well, of course, one could deduce from what you see here from the gang symbols and the paraphernalia that they're wearing that this obviously is not a desirable group of people. Additionally, the captions and the words down here elicit such negative thoughts, as well as the headline up here, where is our compassion? Now, the photo is actually of gang members in San Salvador in 2013 at a rally for peace and gang truce, and has absolutely nothing to do with DACA and those types of people who are part of that group in the United States. Additionally, other elements can yield to fake news. For example, this next piece here, members of a Kurdish Arab coalition allied with the US were killed after providing the US with the wrong coordinates for an enemy target during a battle with Islamic State fighters earlier this week, the military said. Now, what makes this news quite compelling is that, of course, fake news can have huge ramifications, especially on the public mind and additionally on public policy. Now, when it comes to fake news here, we should be clear that pretty much anyone now can create a website that looks legitimate or a post that looks serious and real with anything on it. Additionally, I would suggest that in the 2016 election, millions were spent to boost fake news stories on Facebook for and against all different types of candidates and politicians of all different stripes. Additionally, many of these sites were created in other countries with foreign money to boost them, thus warranting the claim that corruption from other countries might have impacted the American election here at home. Some of these headlines elicit similar themes from what we just talked about. All these stories are 100% false, but had hundreds of thousands of online engagements, entailing maybe people sharing them or reposting them or even quoting them as scholarly sources. Pope Francis shocks the world, endorses Donald Trump for president. Obama signs executive order banning the Pledge of Allegiance in schools. Obama cuts $2.6 billion from veterans while allocating $4.5 billion to Syrian migrants moving to America. Now, fake news, of course, has also been dubbed a term used by the former president Donald Trump and his supporters to describe some pockets of the media. But the reality is that fake news in quotes is not news you just disagree with. Fake news in reality is not the mainstream media like ABC, CBS, CNN, Fox, or MSNBC or NBC. What it really comes down to is that these news agencies might have bias. That's absolutely true. But they are, in fact, legitimate news sources. Of course, you could possibly call into question some of the ways that they cover these topics. That's fine. But they are, in fact, legitimate scholarly sources. Additionally, I would suggest us looking at news like this. It is outright false or misleading to say that all news is fake and dangerous, when in reality, there are certain media networks trying to do their work. And there's also minor sources as well. Recognizing fake news is a process, to put it lightly. Some of the tips and tricks covered here might help you. A key, I guess you could say, designation of fake news is lots of pop-ups and banner ads. Additionally, understanding what is the domain. Does it end in .biz, .ch, .ru, .de, or more? And there's possible chances that you can find so many more. Also, look for an about page or a Google the site to name of the name to learn more about it. And I think that can be helpful too, because when you understand the history and organization network of a news network, that helps you immensely. Also, looking to see if any reputable news sites carry the same story can be helpful. And down here at the bottom, if it makes you angry, it's probably designed to on purpose. So taking an objective stance back from a news source and looking at it with a more clear focus can help you come to some meaningful conclusions. When we analyze articles in class, we can look at some of the other fundamentals conveyed here, from headlines to sidebars to applications to share and repost the news, to comment, to engage. Some of the bold font, some of the different types of headings used and captions used, some of the buzzwords as well. Those things will all be pivotal for us. So I hope you learned about some of the essence and ways of how we can detect fake news in our news world. Thank you so much for tuning in, and good luck with completing the rest of the lesson.